besties, it's Shar. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my new apartment. I introed this in my last video, which was me going to a romance bookstore in Florida. Same disclaimers apply. Apologies if the audio is shit. Listen, I just moved into this apartment. It is mostly empty, so it is going to have a bit of an echo. The living room is the one that is the closest to being done, which is where you and I are hanging out today. So in today's video, it is officially July 1st as I'm recording this, although I believe for you it's Sunday, July 7th, I think, and I want to talk to you about just some of the books that are coming out this July and August that I'm really excited about and looking forward to. The first book is a book that comes out tomorrow for me, and that is Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood. This is a story of a woman who dies in a very embarrassing way. She ends up choking to death on a cheeseburger, and she ends up in like the waiting room of heaven, and while she's there, she meets up with this guy who she finds herself having like a very deep connection with, except all of a sudden they're screaming and hollering about a mistake and he disappears, and she ends up getting a second chance. She gets to go back to Earth, to her life, but she has to find this man, and of course it is a romance, so it is their love story. I've never read from this author before. I only know the premise of this story. I think the cover is very pretty and I'm very excited to read this one. When I'll read it, I don't know, but this isn't my TBR. This is a new releases on my radar video. Then on July 9th, we have Next Best Fling by Gabrielle Gomez, a book with another beautiful cover. This is a story of a curvy plus size, I believe she's a librarian, and she has been in love with her best friend for many years, except that he has just gotten engaged and she is obviously heartbroken and devastated. And she ends up talking to her best friend's brother, who is also heartbroken because he is in love with his brother's fiance. It's convoluted, it sounds very messy, and they decide that they're going to hook up to kind of cover up their feelings, but also just distract themselves. And of course, fake dating, fake feelings lead to real love. It is their romance. This typically isn't the kind of book that I gravitate towards, but you all know I do love a book with a bookish heroine or a bookish hero, and that is what this book is. I don't know I'm going to love it, but I am intrigued. Also on July 9th, we have The Spouse Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, and all I know about this one is that it is a cozy fantasy about a woman who opens up a spell shop, except that is illegal. Magic is illegal, and she is getting the help of her neighbor to do this. And while this is all going on, there is also a massive revolution happening. As I mentioned, it's a cozy fantasy, so we'll see how that works out, but I'm looking forward to this one. This is one I'm very certain I've just gotten a special edition copy of. This is Cross the Line by Simone Saltani. This is coming out on July 23rd, and it is a story of an F1 racer who's gotten into a bit of trouble publicity-wise because of something that he did, and then that introduces us to the heroine, who is a recent graduate. I don't know if it's undergrad or grad, but I'm hoping that the age is pretty similar between the two characters. And she is, I believe her major was like publicity, her degree is publicity and social media, so she is on the scene to help him recover his reputation. And of course it's a romance, so it is their love story. I'm expecting some tension, I'm expecting some drama, and I'm expecting some fun, silly, goofy times because I'm still very much in my romance era and also in my sports romance era. This next one is a queer YA, I believe it's YA story, and it's Time and Time Again by Chatham Greenfield, and this is coming out on July 23rd. This is a story of a girl who finds herself stuck in a time loop. She is waking up and living the same day again and again and again, endlessly, until one day her best friend Jess hits her with their car, and now they are stuck in a time loop together, and they decide to live life like, what the hell, why not? It is a time loop, so they go and have the best summer ever, and it is their love story. I believe Jess in this story is non-binary, and I'm very excited to read this queer story. I typically don't read YA very often, but the time loop premise is one that is intriguing to me. And so we move on to August. On August 6th, The Truth According to Ember by Danica Nava is coming out, and this is a story by an Indigenous Native American author, and it is a Native American love story. We are following a woman named Ember, and Ember is having a really really hard time finding a job until she lies about her ethnicity and her race in a job application. And she ends up getting a job at this firm. And while she's at this firm, she's really struggling with navigating her identity in this new field and trying to make ends meet. But she ends up meeting a coworker who works in a slightly different department at this corporation, at this company. And he works in tech, and he is also Native American, and it is their love story. But beyond that, it is conversations more deeply about navigating identity within this context and her lying about her race and ethnicity because of the bias that she experienced in the hiring field when people found out that she was Native American. Also, on August 6th, we have Better Left Buried by Mary E. Roach. And all I wrote down for this one is that it's a sapphic murder mystery thriller kind of story. And really, if you know me, you know that is all that I needed to know. Oh, wait, I remember. It's at an abandoned amusement park, because this is a story of a girl whose mother is kind of like Sherlock Holmes. She solves murder mysteries, and her mother drags her to this abandoned amusement park to solve this case where people are dying. But of course, her daughter gets wrapped up in it too, and she has to go, not the mother, the daughter is like banding up with other teens at the park to solve the mystery. As a kid, I loved Goosebumps, and there was Horrorland Goosebumps, which is my favorite ever. And ever since, I've really loved horror books or thriller books or mystery books set at abandoned amusement parks. I think those are so much fun, and add in the queer sapphic element, and of course, I'm there. This one I admittedly know very little about, but it is by Jordan E. Fuego, who wrote the Raybearer series, which I really, really love. That's a duology that I read a couple of years ago and absolutely adored. And she is back with The Crocodile and the Maid on August 13th. All I really know about this one, and it is a story of a girl bound to a god and a revolution. I love Jordan E. Fuego's writing style. I'm really excited to see that she is back with a new story, and I'm ready to dive into this one. This one I love because in my free time, I am writing a horror paranormal romance book, Haunted House, but if it was romance. And this is exactly what the premise of this book is. This is Haunted Ever After by Jen DeLuca, which is coming out on August 13th. And this is a story of a woman who buys a cottage, I believe in Florida, but it's haunted, like hella haunted. And she is getting the help of her neighbor, who I believe is either a paranormal investigator or leads ghost tours. And they're trying to solve what is going on in this little cottage in her home. But obviously they also fall in love because this is a romance. This sounds like so much fun. And of course you tell me that it's the intersection of my two genre loves, horror and romance, and I'm there. Ooh, this one I'm really excited for because it reminds me a lot of a book that I read by Anya Alborn, which I believe is When You See Her or If You See Her, something like that. And this is Through the Midnight Door by Katrina Monroe, which is also releasing on August 13th. So in this story, we are following three sisters, and as kids, they used to explore abandoned like homes and properties in their very, very small town because there was nothing better to do. They have a very complicated relationship, and this story opens up years later where they find out that one of the sisters has been found dead inside of a home that used to really, really scare them. And of course, they all go back, the remaining sisters, to find out what happened and explore this property once again. I don't know what to expect out of this one. I'm expecting a story about complicated familial relationships, grief, trauma, but also it's a horror story. I don't know if it's paranormal horror, but I know something is going on with this house, and I am excited to learn more about what that something is. And the final book on this list, although this isn't all of the books releasing in August, this is just the final one on my list, on my radar, is The Dark We Know by Wen Yi Lee. This is also coming out on August 13th, so August 13th is a big publishing day. I'm totally forgetting one. It's You, You're the Problem, It's You. We'll come back to that. So this is a story of a girl who leaves her very small mining town after she came out as bisexual. That really did not go well. She ends up leaving that town, and she comes back after she hears of the death of her father, who was an alcoholic and was very abusive. She swore that she would never come back to the town, but she is going to inherit the money if she does. So she decides that she's going to come back to claim her inheritance. It's a very complicated relationship that she has with this town, and obviously a source of a lot of emotional trauma for her. While she was there, a girl did disappear and was murdered, and this was her friend. And when she goes back, she hears from this boy who is the son of like a local psychic, and he's like, hey, this is what happened. Like, she wasn't murdered. There's this mystery going on. We really need to solve it because there is this paranormal monster entity that's going after people. It sounds very weird, but it also sounds like it's going to be very emotionally heavy and complex. And I really enjoy that in my books. In case you haven't seen my 5-star audit, typically that kind of thing is why I would give a book 5 stars. And of course, it's queer. I'm really looking forward to reading that. Like every other book on this list, that does not close out this video because I forgot. It's You, You're the Problem is You. It's also coming out in August. I don't remember what day in August, so my apologies. It'll be on the screen somewhere. So this is the sequel to Don't Want You Like a Best Friend, and this is a story of 2 men in Victorian England, I believe. One who is having like the equivalent of his season. He needs to find a bride, and the other one who is a lord. However, they are both queer, and obviously they are kind of like enemies. They really don't get along, but they can't help but be attracted to each other. And we have the heroines from Don't Want You Like a Best Friend kind of meddling and trying to push them together. So it is their romance. I'm really looking forward to this one. I really did enjoy Don't Want You Like a Best Friend, but that does officially bring us to the end of this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you're looking forward to reading any of these books, or if there is a book that is releasing this summer that I did not mention, and I am going to see you in my next video. Bye!